All right, I am going to use the mic, and I just want to check before I get started to make sure, especially kids, I wasn't sure, was it going to be parents only, or were some of the young students going to be? So there are 3 handouts that you should have, and I think we have plenty. So one is a packet, because yeah, I do training, but I have interaction with you. So that is available, and then I have a list that I'll go over with you for parent conference questions. And then the last one is actually a form that you'll give me feedback at the end. So I just want to make sure that everybody has the handouts, and you guys here, I don't know if you'll be able to see. I don't know if you'll be able to see up here, but I don't want you to get sore. So, all right, there, that's better, right? And so one of the things I love to do is I love to train, I love to teach, and I see some really friendly faces in the audience tonight. And so I get really excited. If I get going a little too fast, just give me a signal. Slow down, Lori. Part of this will be you giving me feedback, and part of this is me giving you some ideas. And so I want to get started. Wanted to make sure everybody had a pen, had all the tools they needed, and I will go from there. You got a packet? You see that I'm a teacher, I can't help it. It just comes natural to me. So what my agenda is to work with you tonight is to kind of just do some introductions, learn more about you, but also share a little bit about me and my background, and just kind of let you know where I come from. Then we're going to hop into the meat of some of the things that make a big difference for you and for kids. First of all, we'll cover some time management. I'm really working on that one. We'll put some structures together, and then we'll kind of talk about how to relate with the school. So who am I and why am I here? Well, I should have my students tell you a little bit about me, but I will start. I grew up in a crazy house in Illinois, and I had a family full of educators. I worked real hard to try to be successful in school because home didn't really feel very good. So that was my outlet, and that was my way to try to deal with family crazy. So that worked pretty good until I got to be about middle school. And once that happened, other things became a little bit more important than being the teacher's pet and being successful in school. So I struggled through that quite a bit, but I had some really good allies and some good mentors. So I got through that, and I went on to college in Illinois, and I got my master's degree in Fort Lauderdale, where I spent the last 30 years. So I've been working in education that whole time, but it's been with kids who were struggling in whatever way. It might have been academically, it might have been behaviorally, and so I've done just about everything. I have had my own charter school, had my tutoring company, and the funnest, most incredible thing I'm most proud of is I wrote a book. And you may win one in the raffle, but the book really is called SOS Save Our Students, because I do believe that that's what I was born to do in many, many ways. And so what I do is I'm the superhero, my students are the sidekicks, and we fight the arch enemies of education. So as I said, I worked in the inner city of Miami, so some of my chapters are about poverty, gangs, special ed services, whatever that might look like. So I tell 14 of my student stories and all the silly mistakes I made, and then at the end of each chapter, I provide resources. So my idea was to help teachers do a better job helping kids. I don't know if sometimes teachers don't like to hear what I have to say, because usually teachers are the problem, not the kids. So I'm happy to be here. I have a tutoring company called Academic Advocates, and it really is my passion, and I loved working with the kids this summer. It was really fun for me. So let me hear a little bit from you so I can customize and support you the best way. How many folks have elementary kids? Okay, good, big bulk. All right, middle school? I'm looking over there, I know I got some middle school. Okay, so, and any high schoolers? Okay, just keep them up. All right, good, I like that. All right, excellent. So all of this is applicable. It doesn't really matter what grade level, but I will try to customize and give you some feedback based on what I've done from K to 12. So, starting out in your workbook, I set some goals that I knew would be helpful, but I also want you to set some goals so that I can make sure I'm supporting you. Jonathan, where's your workbook? Okay, good, you're working with mom. So my goals are to set up some time management, support you with that, give you some tips, tricks, ideas, have you commit to 5 things on a checklist that you'll do this year, get those positive school relationships, and then I'd really like to hear from you. What's your goal to get out of this session today?
All right, I'll go.
Hey, thank you.
I have high schoolers, and I've got 2 that have already graduated, and I've got a freshman and a sophomore, and I'm kind of just like, can't believe like I'm still doing this. Like I'm kind of just ready to be done. So I'm kind of hoping that we can like breathe some life and revitalization back into like the rest of the 4 more years.
Awesome, I love that. Thank you. Who else would like to give me a goal so I can make sure I figure out how to make that happen for you?
I just want my kids to stay on the right track and graduate.
Graduate?
Society the way it is, some of these kids out here, they're not listening to what they should be listening to when it comes to the law, or when it comes to even just social standards. What I grew up with is not socially acceptable, apparently, in this area. So I grew up in a small town in Texas, so it's not the same.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to get my kids through high school and into college and get them where they can learn a better way than what their friends are doing.
Awesome, thank you. I appreciate that. Ma'am?
I think for us, just really helping them take ownership. So I have kids who are much younger than this, and because of the structure, they've had to kind of learn how to take ownership quicker. And I'm like, sweet, I should have done that. So just, these boys are very smart, capable, and hardworking, and I want them to build that and to get some tips from here on how to do that.
Awesome. How about one more? Yes?
I have a freshman and 2 fifth graders, and I homeschool them, but I really am just, they love to learn and hands-on. They love to go places, they love to listen to speakers, but I want them to like not fight me on like book work and stuff like that. I just want them to understand.
All right, well, they'll raise the roof on that one for sure.
Like, I just feel like, why are we still having arguments about this? Or why are we acting shocked that we actually have to do this stuff? All these years, like later, we're still acting a little surprised at the beginning of every school year. So I would just love them to appreciate and understand why this is important, and they want to do this. You want to do this.
Right? No, absolutely. Thank you. My son is 22, and he just graduated from Florida State, and he'll be coming out here to do some work in sports management. But my whole school career, when I would work with my son and try to help him, he would give me the same answer every time. You don't know, Mom. You don't understand. You don't know. And I would just look at him and said, son, I'm a Disney American teacher. I do know. Nope, you don't know, Mom. Son, I just won a governor's title. You don't know. So I think it's just part of the process and part of what happens. I don't think it's personal, but it sure feels like it, because all you're trying to do is help and to make sure they get what they need. So we'll work through some of those things, and I hope you find some of those supports and get some of the tools and tips that you're looking for today. So I want to start with time management. Most of us in this society have 7, 10, 12 tasks that we're trying to manage, and it just never feels like, especially as a parent, that there's enough hours in the day. I'm sure I'm speaking to the choir on this one. So the first thing, what I wanted to have you guys do, as part of your table, I wanted you to take a Post-it, because there should be some, my friends in the back put them out for me. So if you'd grab a Post-it from the middle of the table, and I like it that the kids are here as well. Take that Post-it and write down those 4 tasks that we might have to do. So at the end of the day, we might have 5 math problems. We might need to do laundry. We might need to feed and walk the dog. And we might need to call the soccer coach, Jonathan. I'm sorry, I can't help it. He's a soccer star. About weekend fundraising. So those 4 tasks. You don't have to write the whole sentence. You can literally abbreviate math, laundry, soccer, and dog. So here's a Post-it, honey. I think you want one too, don't you? You guys are going to be so sad you sat up here, because this microphone will keep me close. I won't pick on the people in the back. So the whole idea behind this is to think about how could we prioritize those tasks, and about how long might they take? So estimate how long you think each of those will take. And Yasmin will tell me the math problems are going to take a long time because she wasn't real happy with her math tonight. Once you have that, and you've kind of thought about which was number 1, 2, 3, and 4, turn and talk with your table a little bit and get some ideas of what other people are thinking. Do you hate me now? Did you get a Post-it? Didn't want to do it. We'll work with mine. Let me see.
I had about 4 or 5 minutes for the hour and 10 minutes for the laundry. I was going to change that one to an hour, I think. And 5 minutes to call the coach.
Nice. What'd you come up with? I put the microphone down so I could see if you had any ideas. What'd you think?
I just did maybe homework.
Gotcha. Okay. That's why I came back. I bet everybody at every table, because their parents are doing what comes next. Exactly. Hey, how you doing, lady? Oh, yeah, my body's telling me to slow down. What'd you come up with? What'd you think, honey?
Well, did we have to answer all of them?
Well, the whole idea was to put number 1, 2, 3, and 4, which you would do first, yeah.
Oh, I thought how much time would...
Well, both. Like, I wanted you to think about how long does it take, but what would you do in what order? That's why I had everybody just kind of talk. And that's why I put the microphone down so I could come and explain. I hear some great conversation. Let's take about 1 more minute on that. Hi, how are you? How you doing? Good. Good, thank you. You got all your packets and everything? Good. That's all right. We're just getting started. Okay. Sounds like we're just kind of in that spot where things kind of die down, and I had to put the microphone down and I had to hear some of the conversation because I heard a lot of good things. Knowing that you're parents, knowing that you're multitasking, I am guessing that you figured out some ways to try to do 2 or 3 things at once. Because I heard it back there, I heard it over there, I heard a lot of good feedback. So my whole goal, just like the lady shared earlier, is for kids to start to understand that. So as I was walking around, I tried to target some of the students to help them begin thinking about, okay, well, I got 100 things to do, how do I fix that? So let's see how you did. The suggested from this article said, do the math homework first. Did you get that? How many people said that?
Our whole table.
Okay. Well, again, there's no perfect answer.
I couldn't do the laundry first. You put the laundry in, then you can do the math while the laundry's going. Then do this other stuff while the dryer's going.
So she said exactly what the next part of the sentence says. Well, yes, you've got to get that math done. However, You could start the laundry first and then do the homework, and that's what I was listening for because I heard you saying those kind of things, but we want kids to start thinking that way. Second, or simultaneously, get the load of laundry started. Now we adults, we're pretty good at this now as parents. And then, let's do two things at once. Let's walk the dog and call the soccer coach. Right, so we can do both of those. And I liked that I saw the estimates seem to be, you know, pretty in line with about the right time. But I think when I work with kids, they have a real hard time understanding how long it might take them. So in their mind, if they have 5 math problems, they may think that's going to take them 45 minutes. They just don't have that connection yet. The gentleman up front said, that's 5 minutes. I thought, well, I guess it depends on which math you're doing, right? So I think it was a good conversation, and it was a good way to kind of jump into the real activity. So I created this chart, and I'm so happy that the kids are here. So today those students are here, can work side by side with you on this template I created. It talks about a task, talks about a priority, and then it also talks about when it's done, because progress monitoring is pretty important. So the task that I want you guys to work on, I had this originally set up and said have the student create this. But if your student is not in here with us today, this is a good practice for all of us who are managing 400 tasks at once. So the idea behind it is to think about today or tomorrow and list the tasks or activities that you have to do. Once you have that list, then the idea is to kind of label it. Which is most important, which is important, and which is if I can get to it. So once you have the tasks, you want to label them A, B, or C. So I want to give you a couple of minutes to kind of go through that and see what tasks you can come up with and how to prioritize them. And I'll walk around and give a little support as needed, okay? Students should be writing on this one, if they're here. Yes, sir.
This is for the task that I'm gonna do for my scholar or for myself?
I think the best way for you to do it, since your scholar's not here, maybe they're younger, have you do your own tasks.
But the part is something that's gonna support my scholar.
Not yet. Just in your job and in your life, what are the things you had to do today, or what are the things you have to do tomorrow?
Okay.
Okay?
Right, so they're good. So how can we improve in that?
Does this make sense for you?
Yeah.
Okay. So it could be like, especially for you as a student, what did you do today, or what do you need to do tomorrow? Just whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
Get ready, math homework, whatever that looks like. And then we're going to decide, is that an A, B, or C? And he can do it for his own life.
And the morning she's going to school.
Exactly. Yeah. She's got to go to school, pack her lunch, things like
That
that.
can be a priority.
You bet. For sure. We hope, right?
Yeah.
So you guys are just doing your own, right? Because your kids are a little younger. Perfect. And so you homeschool, don't you? Yes. So your tasks, you know, are pretty heavy. But think about, you know, how do you put that together in a day, or what are you going to do tomorrow? Oh, look at the A students back here. Nice. Okay. I like it. You're done. All right. Love it.
My second grader
Good.
graduated from Harvard.
Good. Making sense. Look, very good. Awesome. Yasmin, you got your math homework on there? History. Okay. Delia's getting it done. Does it make sense? Yeah. Perfect. Make sense, guys? Is soccer practice on there? I knew it would be. All right, looks like some of the folks are done. I think that's the gifted and talented department down there. They finished the whole thing. I love that. and some of you are just working through it and taking your time, which is also another learning style. And so I want to give about another 30 seconds to just kind of finish what you're thinking right now. Some of my folks were already done. Was there anything that surprised you or anything that you thought was different than you expected? Of course, I'm going to call on the table in the back because they're done. Anything surprise you guys in the back? No. You've been working on this for a while, so nothing really surprised you or was a little out of the ordinary for you? Yeah? What about over here in the back? Anything surprise you, or it all made sense? Well, what was your number one priority? You want to tell me what surprised you, ma'am?
Yeah, I think what surprised me is like everything's an A priority to me. So I'm like, come on, we have to do this, we have to, and then it helped me like, okay, look, the dog's gonna be fine if he gets taken out 10 minutes later than I think he should get taken out. You know, so it just helped me like prioritize.
I love that, and I don't know about any of the rest of you, but I am that one, that I have 46 things on the list and they all feel like an A to me. And so I wonder why I get stressed out, and I wonder why I'm, yelling and crazy. So it was really powerful for me as well. So figuring out the other part, C. Some of the stuff that we pile up on our list really shouldn't be on there. And so I think just clarifying that helps us be more strategic about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So I like students to try to do this for the week so that they can plan in those tests. When do I have to study? When are my projects due? Things like that. So you have the template and you can use that as a guide. I want to hear from that young student in the back, but he's got some food in his mouth, so that's my specialty, to call on people. Once he finishes, I kind of want to hear what he put as his first priorities. Would you share for us, Mom? So I don't want to put him on the spot.
Get homework done.
Homework done first? What came second?
Feed my cats.
Nice, okay. So again, just kind of some of those tasks that you have to do. And again, I'm sorry to call on you when you had a full. So the whole idea behind this, whether we did this activity or not, was to have you think about, okay, what do I do with my own time management? And can I be better at it? And can I do better at it? Of course we can. So how could you help your scholar manage their time a little bit differently? And so we've kind of covered some of that, but what are some of your thoughts? How could you help your scholar manage their time a little differently? Ma'am.
First, I think the most important thing
Here, let me get in my...
is to have their own space.
Okay, go ahead.
Have a desk, their chair. Make sure it's clean. They have a pencil. They have all the tools they need to do. They have to have their own spot to do their homework.
Any of you have that kind of set up already? Kind of like a homework space? That can be really, really powerful, and that can help them focus a little bit, especially if there's TV in the room or the video game or the tablet or the phone, right? And so having an isolated spot may be more helpful. Any other ideas you use or do to help your scholar manage their time a little bit? Ma'am.
I just give them a list of like the assignments they're gonna do for that day, and then like the chores they're gonna do for that day, like the dogs need to get a bath and this and this, and you have to do these assignments, and then I just tell them you're totally free for the rest of the day, and I do not ask them to do more than that, so they are motivated to get it done as early as possible, so that they're free, because they're not adults yet, we're never free, but they are free.
So I love that, giving them a list and then showing them how to create their own lists over time. But the one thing she really highlighted, you talked about having kids take the ownership. What they call that is voice and choice. And so kids having an opportunity to say, okay, well, here are the things that are important to me, and here are the things that I know I have to do. So they have a voice. And then they have a choice. Okay, well, you have these 3 things to do. Honey, you can choose whatever order you want to do them in. So that was a really powerful strategy. So one of the things that I have done is I've been looking for the perfect planner. Anybody found one yet?
Yeah, and then now you can't find it.
She can't find it, she found it. Well, I hope it looks something like this, because I would like to share some of these with you today. I have 8 of them that I'd like to give out. And so for your great idea, ma'am, I'd like to give you one. The students and I worked with it over the summer, and it just had the right space, and it kind of had the right feel to it. And so I'll share, though, I'll have one in the back that you can look at. I got it at Staples during back to school, and it wasn't too expensive at all. So, and my friend up here is also going to enjoy one. I'm going to give more out as we go.
Are these planners for the students or for the parents?
Well, hey, I would say that you could probably use it however you like, but it was geared towards assignments.
Because Sherry has her own planner, so.
I know.
Okay, well then who knows? Maybe.
Pretty child, she's more organized than I am. She could probably help you teach this class.
All right, so she's color coding and all that. Perfect. All right. So that's our time management part. The next thing I'd kind of like to dive into with you is structures. So my friend here alluded to that, having some structures in place to help kids be a little bit more successful and a little more focused. So I'd like to think about this. When I work in my tutoring company, a lot of my work is really coaching kids about how to plan their time, about how to be organized, and how to be successful in school. Because I can tell them the same exact thing that you told them, and I sound like a genius. So you could tell them, well, you need to have these folders that are a certain color. And they'll say, you don't know, Mom. And so I come in my tutoring company, I go, hey, you need to have these folders that are colored. Oh, okay. And so all of a sudden I look like a genius, and it's not fair. So what do you think are some of the things that should have a specific place for your kids? Give me some ideas. Ma'am.
The backpack?
Backpack. What else? Clothes. Shoes. Yes, sir. Supplies. I love that. Ma'am. Yes, indeed. She said glasses. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I lose mine, and then you're in trouble because you can't see. Like, okay, I can't see, and I can't find my glasses to see. What'd you come up with? I thought you had something. Was your hand up? Okay. Yanessa? The parents, those papers you have to sign and get back to the teacher. You're right. Very good. Great point. What else?
The Legos.
Yes, all of us that have stepped on a Lego, for sure, we'd like to have those Legos organized. Yes? Assignments. Assignments. Do you have a specific place for some of those? Good. Because what I would like to think about is some of the ones that maybe we didn't get. You guys are pretty smart. You're pretty organized. There it is. School supplies. Oh, yeah. Dressers should probably have a specific organization to it. Oh, that's not for the kids. That's for me. I lost my keys the other day when I was at the school working, and I panicked. I thought, how am I going to get home? Winter, gloves and hat. Filing system. And the toiletries and supplies. So what I suggest most of the time for my students is that you have a place right by the door, and I pretty much recommend what Yanessa mentioned, that the night before everything is already packed, clothes are laid out, everything is all set. And they look at me like I'm bananas. Why would I do that? You know, I'll just get up in the morning. Well, yeah, right. More times than not, we get up late, we're running late, and then my whole day starts off where I'm frazzled and I'm disorganized, and then I go to school and my day doesn't go very well. So those are some tips and tricks that I have definitely come up with.
Can I add something?
You sure can.
We school on the go a lot, and so each subject has its own bag, and then we can just grab that bag and then just go. And so now it's transposed into like each activity has its own bag. So we got a soccer bag, American Heritage Girls bag, and everything just stays in there. When you're ready to use it, pull it out of there, but then it just goes with you. And it's simplified our life in tremendous ways.
I love that. A bag for each one. I have a gym bag, but unfortunately it doesn't usually come out of my car. So yeah, finding those kinds of structures and things that are going to help you are going to be real important. So I came up with that checklist. And this is the one where I really want you to think through for your family, for your scholar, what would be the 5 things that would really be beneficial? Some of them you may already be doing, but I kind of divided the checklist up into categories, like what actions might you do, what tools might you use, how do you deal with homework, and then someone had mentioned that, how do I keep kids motivated? And so I'm going to cover those a little bit before you feel like you're going to have to check them off, or how you want to go through that. I've been in the field a long time, and I work with a lot of kids for a long time. And so I do know, like some of the rest of you, that my kindergarten students usually go to school and they eat lunch at 10 o'clock in the morning. And my middle school kids go to middle school and they don't eat lunch till 1:30 in the afternoon. And so coaching kids and saying, honey, you've got to bring a snack. At 10:30 in the morning, you're going to be starving. No wonder you can't concentrate in 4th period. You're starving. And so packing those snacks that are high protein will really help, depending on how your student, how their schedule is laid out and how things go together. The one concern I always had was I would have kids who had some attention issues, and I'd work with the families, and I had a young boy show up with 2 Krispy Kreme donuts and a large iced coffee. And so I looked at the mom, and I looked at the son, and I said, oh no, you're not coming in here today. And they looked at me like I was crazy. I said, we've been working on this for a year. He's gonna get kicked out of school today if he comes in here with 2 Krispy Kreme donuts and a coffee. He can't manage all that sugar in his body. Well, mom wasn't real happy, but I said, come back tomorrow, and please, you know, we've been doing this for a year. So having that start, having that breakfast, having the appropriate tools and resources can really change the day for kids. And I think I'm probably singing to the choir on this, but I always like to kind of tell little stories, because maybe we just weren't thinking about that, or maybe we didn't realize they eat lunch at 1:30 in the afternoon. Sleep. I heard somebody saying it. They don't go to sleep. What was it, ma'am? Tell me.
I'm having the hardest time getting my son to go to sleep on time and not fall asleep in school.
How old is he?
Yep. He's almost 11.
Yep. I would have guessed that right here.
And we took the game away, so he has no...
Stays up till 1, 2 in the morning, will not go to sleep.
So anybody found any things or tools or resources that will help with that besides taking the game away?
Melatonin.
Melatonin. Sir? Tell me one more time.
Run laps.
Run some laps. Get that extra energy out. What else? Melatonin really helped you? That's an herb that some people do choose to use. And massage. One of the things I do, because I don't sleep well, because I usually have too much energy, is I actually listen to guided meditation tapes at night. So I crank that phone up and I just put those on, and it tells me how I'm going to sleep great and how I'm wonderful and how I'm going to have an amazing day and all that good stuff. And it usually does help me fall asleep. I don't always stay asleep, but it helps fall asleep. Attendance. I was going to pull some statistics, but every single day that a student misses probably puts them about 2 to 3 days behind. And so that attendance and being on time is absolutely critical. And so whatever things you can do to set that up are going to really change the game. This is my favorite one. Every time that you pick the kids up or you see them right after school, my guess is you ask them this question. How was school today? Good. And what is the answer?
Okay.
Fine, good, okay. Anything else? Long? Well,
I had a bad day, don't talk.
Don't talk to me. Well, you get more than most of us. The typical answer is fine, good. And so what I learned to do was to ask very specific questions, because I knew I was, and my son still gives me general answers. So I say, well, what did you learn in math class today? What game did you play in PE? What was your favorite teacher's activity today? So I ask specific questions, and typically when I'm able to do that, it opens up a whole different conversation, because they're kind of moving in that direction where they start to talk. What did you find, ma'am?
Just if you Google like non-traditional questions to ask your kids after school, there's things like tell about a time when somebody was kind to you today, tell about a time when you were kind, what's a way that your teacher showed you respect, how did you show your teacher respect, and it gives like 500 things to ask that aren't just how was your day. So.
That's fantastic. I never knew that. So Google non-traditional.
Try to Google it,
Yeah.
you know,
Non-traditional questions to ask your student after school. I knew there was a wealth of resources in the room. There it is, the folders, to do and done. So a color for each class, and in the front of the folder is to do, and in the other side of the folder is done. I used to make my students do that in my charter school, and they did not really like me, but then they were pretty happy when they could find their homework. And then again, I mentioned this earlier, have that all done the night before. Pack your lunch, have it in the refrigerator, have all those things set up, so that in case you do get up late, the day rolls out a lot more smoothly. So those are the actions in that segment. Is there one of those in there that you feel like you would commit to for this year?
You mean that you don't already do?
Well, I love that you don't already do. If there was one, yes. If not, one that you'd recommit to. And I'm going to hear from the gentleman over here while we recommit.
A whole lot of sleep.
Good. I like that, because we can go from one extreme to another. So he's going to commit to sleep. All right, let's take a look at the next section. Tools you could use. So it's all that long checklist, but I just tried to break it apart a little bit. We talked a little bit about planners. This is a key, and I think many of you may do it, but there are so many resources that the school does provide you that sometimes you're not sure how to access. So there is a portal in most schools where you can access and see the kids' grades. You can get them on your phone. You can get all the information. Some of them are called RenWeb for some of the Christian schools. You have Schoology. You have Infinite Campus. All of those tools provide you as parents access to the grades, the assignments, and things like that. If you do not know how to sign in, ask the school. Sometimes there's classes, like I work in D11 part-time, and their system is called Q. And so at the schools, they actually have a parent training to show them how to use Q. So again, there may be resources there that you hadn't thought of or that you hadn't used already. In high school, they do have a syllabus. So I said, you guys had some high schoolers, and I wondered, did any of you have to sign the syllabus for the students this year? Yes. Yes, 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 yes. I always made a copy. My son was not happy about it, but I made a copy of it before I sent it back so I would know when he came home and said, well, you know, she never did it, I said, well, son, let's look at the syllabus. Here it is. It says, da, 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 da. Well, you know, I said, yeah, exactly. It's not her, it's you, so let's get it fixed. The school website has the calendar, the major testing dates, all kinds of resources and information for you. Look for it. I didn't know. Well, go ahead and look. It's a really great place, and they do work real hard how to get that staff contact. And then Ashley, one of my students over the summer, I was really impressed. She got her year-long calendar, she got all the testing dates, and she had a big whiteboard, kind of like that one, in her house. She's a 10th grader, and she had all the dates on the calendar. She wrote it all up on her whiteboard. Talk about ownership. I wanted her to come tonight and tell you about it, but those are some tools that we can teach kids how to do and get that calendar going. The other big thing is some of the schools actually have tutoring on site. And so if your kids are having a little bit of trouble, you can look for the school website and get the tutoring right there at the school. Oh, yep. Yep. And so our friends over here from Learning RX kind of acted that out. This is the part where it is definitely game time for us as parents to try to manage our own emotions. Woo! All right, so schedule that time. Now Jonathan's in soccer a lot, so it's really challenging for him to figure out, how do I manage it? I bet your kids are in 3 or 4 activities and they have other things they need to do. So figuring out when is that time that we're going to make sure we do that homework. And as my friend alluded to, where's the place? A lot of kids have to do iReady, iStation, iExcel, what's that one you like for math? Reflex? Alex. So there are a lot of tools that they can use, and they need to be doing that. There it is. Yanessa, you brought it up. Any of those papers that have to go back, check the night before. Plan your calendar, and then get help. As Deborah mentioned early on, don't wait. I already talked to a couple of my tutoring clients, and they said, well, I have an F in biology. I'm like, my God, school started 2 weeks ago, honey. How did you get an F already? And so you know that those tests, especially in high school, are about 70% of their grade. So they may do the homework, they may do a lot of stuff, and they bomb that test, and here we are 2 weeks in, and I have an F already. So really knowing when those dates are can be real powerful. You mentioned voice and choice, and that's really motivating for kids. And the one we always forget, and I ask teachers all the time, how do you celebrate success? How do you as a family celebrate when kids are doing well?
We have a goodie basket that we do.
Nice. What's in the goodie basket?
Random stuff. It's got anything from candy to little Dollar Tree toys to, there's chocolate, like expensive chocolate that I got that I didn't like. But little toys, things that they can do. And at one point there was Easter eggs in there with different prizes in that,
Nice.
and a slip of paper that said 1 hour of game time or screen time.
Perfect. Yeah, sometimes you don't even have to spend any money. Some of those slips, some of those things to celebrate that. Any other celebrations? Ma'am?
We go rent a movie from the Red Box.
Rent a movie from Redbox. Nice. Well, I can just one. I can promise you. Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to say, it's just important to keep your eyes open for those opportunities to celebrate, especially for kiddos who are challenged learners. A lot of times we're just not used to being celebrated for the small successes that seem small maybe to us, but they're actually huge.
Absolutely spot on, and that's exactly what I was going to say. We're very aligned. There's something that went well every day. Part of my work with my meditations and things like that is I have to write in my book, my planner, 3 big wins for the day. So no matter what, when I say, okay, what was the best thing that happened today? My mind starts spinning looking for good things rather than all of those things I didn't do. So every single day, there's something to celebrate, and teaching kids how to look for the good and how to say, hey, what went really well today at school can be a real powerful tool. All right, so your job now is to look through that list and choose 5 things. Hopefully some of them you haven't seen yet, and commit to those. So I'll give you a few minutes to look through that big long checklist. I'm sorry, but I just thought that was powerful and important. And so you could have 2 different answers for your students and you. Did you see the next list? It's on the next page. See, the big long list is on that next page.
Yeah.
How much time do you think they should be on, like, video games and stuff?
Ask that question in a minute. Okay? Okay. So Jonathan, the first 2 people who volunteer, you take them up later, so I don't have to walk. How much more time do you need on this? 1 minute? 0 minutes? Show me with your hands. 0 in the back, the gifted and talented section.
1 minute.
1? I shouldn't, then I'm not making everybody else feel bad. But you guys are getting it done back there. And ma'am, since you had them all, did you find any on that list that maybe you didn't?
I do.
She does most of them.
But it doesn't mean that it works. My kids are like total opposite of me, and everything I try with them, I'm like, okay, let's try this then. That doesn't work either. They're not, I don't know where to.
I think we did too much.
My friend up front brought up a very, very important point. She said, I do most of these, Lori, but guess what? They don't work sometimes because their style is not like mine. And so I believe that no matter what I say, even if it's a good idea, my son says, nope, doesn't work, Mom. So one of the things I would encourage you to do is to go through this list with your kids and let them pick. because then it doesn't come from the top down, so to speak, and they may be a little bit more receptive to hearing and committing to that. So from the back table, let's hear one of the things you decided to commit to. Go. Take him.
My kids are younger, so they have some sort of
Perfect. All right, so he's going to commit to that. Jonathan's taken him a planner. And how about one more thing that you found or thought? Yes, ma'am.
Actually, from her, I guess I am kind of organizational freak.
Yes.
But she says I should do less for them and make them take more ownership. So
Perfect.
that's going to drive me nuts, but I am going to try this.
All right, give her a planner, Jonathan. Thank you. So yeah, less of that top down and more of that ownership. What about my young man here from Mann Middle School? What's something you decided you were going to commit to? Reading. Reading. I like that. It's one of the best things you could do. All right, let's keep going, because the next part you're finally going to get up. One of the things I don't like about training is that you have to sit and get. And so part of that, I wanted you to be able to interact. And so as we go past that, I'll come back to that, because you need to get up. So you have some really smart people doing a lot of really cool things here. And so now, as you think about the next step in your workbook, it says circulate and collect. I'd like you to go around, talk with some folks, take your workbook, and find out what are some of the things you could do or that they do to improve school relations. So you have the paper, circulate and collect. Go around and find at least 4 people to talk with and get some ideas from for your workbook. And if you really don't want to do that, at least stand up so you can oxygenate your brain cells. So go around and find some tools and resources from your colleagues.
For those that are homeschooled, why don't you get together since you don't
Nice.
really have a school?
Yeah.
Those that are homeschooled get together and then
Perfect. Homeschool folks can join in, and the rest of you can go around and get some ideas from some of your peers.
So it's 30 questions to ask your kids other than how was your day at school?
Okay, we put it on Post-it. Make sure you remind us.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys have to stand up. Those chairs are the most uncomfortable chairs I've ever sat in my life. You have to stand up, even if you don't want to go around. You do, those chairs, perfect. Is that going well? Nice. Good, he's up. You guys got to stand up. These chairs are the most uncomfortable chairs I've ever sat in. So please, stand up at least, okay? Even if you don't want to talk to other people. Stand up at least, okay? These chairs are the hardest chairs to sit in. I really want to die every time I come. So at least, I don't care if you don't want to talk, just please. Now you're homeschool, right, ma'am? There's some folks right up there that you could connect with and see if they have some ideas, if you're open to it. But no matter what, stand up. These chairs are so uncomfortable.
what's that? That's an ad bill.
Good, you're up. Yeah, getting some more cookies. You're up. Guys, get up. These are the most uncomfortable chairs I have ever sat in my life. Please just stand up even. If you don't want to talk to people, don't. Just every time I come, I'm like, oh my God, I can't take it. I'm serious. You know I'm telling you the truth. They are, so stand up. I know, I heard that. I talked to her a little bit when I came in.
Oh, because I don't know how you take 32 out of 20. To me, that's negative.
Gotcha. Yeah, they do have tutoring at Atlas. I definitely would push to get her in that, because I said she may need a small group because they're moving in a lot of algebra.
Okay.
Yeah, because she is getting frustrated, and I understand why, but I only had 15 minutes. You know, I couldn't.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I know you couldn't.
Yeah, I wanted to.
No, I have my kids as teachers on speed dial.
Speed dial, I love it. Stand up. These chairs are the most uncomfortable chairs I've ever sat in my life. Yes, every time I come to a session, I have to leave in the middle. I'm like, so stand up, even if you don't want to talk, just stand up. I'm just saying. What'd you find? Good. Okay, what else could you do to like have the school get better along with the school? Sure, that's a great idea. I'm gonna call on you to say that because that's good. That's a good answer. No, you don't want to. That's,
I can't.
As you're okay. Don't want to be in.
Did he sit in class like a bull? Yeah, he did. How long, and did nothing.
Yes.
And then one day he'll have a great day.
I am going to give some winners out. I'll make sure that you win. Okay. Good call.
Always.
Yay! Oh wait. Yeah. Yay! You're up, moving around. Stand up out of those chairs for just a few minutes and get some fanning and get some air. We're going to go about 2 more minutes on this. Stand up, get some stretches, get some ideas.
Grandparents have the knowledge. We've been through this. This is the second time for me. I raised my 4 kids.
Where's your Post-it? You had a great question. I don't remember what it was.
How long should they be on?
Video. Okay, go ahead. Stand up.
That's what you just.
What'd you find, young man? Did you find any good resources?
What about
But you're standing up, which is a good thing, because I am not a fan of these chairs.
I just boosted your mic by about 10%, so
okay.
A little bit more volume to get over it.
Okay, thank you.
With the principal, the counselor, the teachers. And you have to be on it because mine's 14. So he wants to get away with everything. He thinks that grandma doesn't know anything. And like she said, I make copies of all his stuff.
Are you learning anything? Maybe. How old are your kids?
11, 8, and 6. He's going to be 6.
Okay, so you got the span, right? Middle school and elementary. What about your kids?
My nephews.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. That's great you're here. That's awesome. All right, we're going to take about 1 more minute. I love that you're up, moving around. Bless you. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you think daily communication will be impossible with the school every day?
I think that's a great question. Let's bring that up.
Okay.
Let me get a pen.
Here, I have it.
Perfect. Okay. Oh, now I'm going to take it.
Oh, thank you.
All right, once you finish up, start working your way back towards your seats. I'm going to call on you, so get ready. Okay. wish my high school students would roll like that. Usually takes me 10 minutes to get them back to their seats. You guys are awesome. And I heard a lot of great conversation. So tell me some of the things that you found out that you thought were very, very valuable, that maybe you just hadn't thought of, or that maybe just reaffirmed some of the things you had already thought. Ma'am.
She has some very good ideas of keeping up with your kids. Like every week, talk to the teachers or the school. Even their syllabuses.
I know.
And copies of it so you know what their schedule should be and what they should be working on. So, very good.
Awesome. Jonathan, time to give that lady a planner. Thank you. He's like, gosh, why did I sit up here? This lady is driving me bananas. Thank you, son. All right, so yeah, great idea. What else did you find out? Young man.
That we should all, for kids my age, could also read and eat for breakfast. Like every time my mom doesn't want to snack.
Perfect. So I should eat. I should make sure. Come get your planner, young man. Well done. What else did you find out? Sir, you had something? Or was it it was my friend there. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Be respectful for the teachers. I love that. I think you should probably come up and get a planner. And my friend in the back, Yasmin, what do you got? Oh, I love that. Come get your planner. Starting off with the growth mindset. How many of you have heard about that concept from Carol Dweck? Well, I'll share a little bit about it since there's only 2 of you in the room. A lot of schools over the United States where I train teachers have learned that they used to say a lot of feedback to kids, and they would say, oh, you're so smart. You did a great job. I can't believe how smart you are. What a wonderful job. Kiss your brain. They said that when in kindergarten. And so what Carol Dweck found over a 20-year study was this. They took the tasks and they surveyed and went with this cross group of kids. In one group, the task was easy. So one group of kids they praised by telling them, you're so smart. That must have been really easy for you. And in the other group of kids, they said, boy, you worked really hard on that. That must have felt really good. So the praise they gave the kids was very distinctly different. So then they said, okay, we're going to give you another task. Would you like it to be harder or easier? And so the control group that they had praised for being smart said they wanted an easier task.
Easier?
And the kids they had praised for being hard workers chose a harder task. So the growth mindset that Yasmin brought up is about how do we praise kids and how do they deal with life rather than thinking, okay, well, I have to look smart, so I don't want to take a risk. And so when we praise them differently, they're a lot more able and apt to take a risk, and they're also a lot more resilient. So the big word that goes after it, it's all over schools across the U.S., is, well, you can't really say, I'm not good at math, right? Because that's a whole different conversation. So instead, I'm not good at math yet. Adding a yet to the end of that statement changes the way kids interact, changes the way kids go back and be resilient to re-engage in a task. So that was cool. Thanks for bringing that up. Ma'am.
Who's the author?
The researcher's name is Carol Dweck. It's a D-W-E-C-K. There's a nice little clip on YouTube. It's about 3 to 4 minutes that I usually show in training when I do that with schools. And it really is powerful stuff and really good for us as parents to kind of remember that. All right. I had a couple questions. Let me address that. One of those was, should I communicate with the school every day? Was that too much? Well, there's a couple of things I want to say about that. Remember, I've taught elementary, middle, high, I've been a principal, and so a couple things have happened to me as a teacher principal. The number one thing is a lot of my students had a hard time, right? They were struggling learners. I taught what they called dropout prevention. And so I always had behavior plans for most of my students. And so part of that in elementary and middle was for me to sign their agenda book every day. And I would do the little behavior note, right? Work complete, behavior on track. And I would sign it, and that would go back and forth every single day. And the parents would then sign that, and we would exchange that way. It didn't take a lot. But in middle school was 30 kids, but I'm like, okay, get those agenda books out, da 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 da, and I would just run through the room and make sure they'd copied their homework and things like that. So I don't think it's a lot to ask, but I've also been on the other side. And as a principal, I would get 235 emails a day. And then parents would cuss me out because I didn't respond, within a 30-second time frame. And I'm like, you're important to me, I'd like to help you, but I also have a lot of other things going. So I think there's a balance in there somewhere, but I do have to tell you this. When I train teachers, I tell them that their number one job the first week of school is to call you and tell you that they're happy to have your student. Well, I don't know. Yeah, you need to start it out, Miss Teacher, Mr. Teacher, and let them know that you really care about their kid and that you're excited that they're in your class.
Well, tell the teachers here, because I've never got...
Well, I work with teachers all over, and I tell them that. And every time I've ever done that, even in my high school, I worked in a lot of inner city high schools, real tough situations, and I would call home for my 11th graders, and I'd say, hey, you know what? Really happy Jonathan's in my class. I just want to reach out, Miss So-and-so, and let you know. They said, oh my God, I've never had anybody call me and tell me something good about my kid. So I put that on the teachers, I really do, and I continue to work for that. But here's the flip side of that. As a teacher for a 5th grade class, on the very first day, it's in my book too, on the very first day, I had a parent send me a thank you card. Thank you for taking my daughter. Thank you for caring about Laura. How do you think I handled Laura? Right? My God, that touched my heart, right? So every time I would look at Laura or her mom or whoever, it made a difference for me, because teachers are a little underappreciated. So it's a two-way street, right? Two-way street. There are lots of things that you can do as a parent to reach out, to celebrate, to honor, and hold them accountable, and they should be doing some of the same things. So I coach them the other way as well. Yes?
So what if the teacher absolutely refuses to sign the planners or to even check on it? How do we go about handling that type of situation? Because I've come across a couple of teachers that are like, well, as long as they're doing their homework, I'm not going to worry about them putting the stuff in their planner. Where we would hold them accountable, the teachers will not.
I think that's a very good question. And so in my tutoring company and or just as a parent and an advocate, there's a lot of ways to approach that conversation. And so when we get to the parent conference section, I've just got some notes for you in there. But my first blush on that as a parent, I don't do it right. My son will be like, oh my God, Mom, no, don't go to the school. I would try to, kill him with kindness first and say, hey, we're working real hard. We have a lot of things in place. We'd really like for you to communicate with us every day. And so one of the ways we'd really like to have that happen is for you to sign the planner. Well, no, I don't have time. I have 370 kids a day. I understand that, ma'am, but this is really important to us. Is there a way that we can make this happen? And then they say, well, I just can't do that, da 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 da. So is there another way, ma'am, that we could do this? Can we email, right? And so I would try to be real resilient and real persistent. And then if I'm not getting some of the results or some of the information, yes, I would. I would escalate it.
Go to the principal.
I wouldn't go to the principal, because the principal's going to get 235 emails a day. However, I would go to the guidance department. Your guidance department would be the next spot to say, hey, we're working real hard as a family. We're working on a lot of these things. Is there a way that you as the guidance counselor could get us on the right path to get the help we need? Great question, great point. So they are your allies, and some of them are overwhelmed and kind of busy. So on the next part, I'd want to address some of that with you and have you take some notes that fit for you or that might be a little bit different. So in the back to school open house, I don't normally put slides up with all those words. We know that's not good training. So I tried to highlight. I should never have more than 10 words on a slide. So in this case, When you're going back, I know it's a little late, most of you have already gone back. Atlas went back in the middle of July, but there are some key questions that you may think to ask next year, especially some of the younger kiddos. And so, is there a dress code? Ooh, anybody have any problems with dress code here? All right, well, I'm from South Florida, and I can promise you that a lot of those girls want to wear the nightclub wear. And it was not a go for us. Like, oh, honey, no, that mini dress and those high heels, and oh, no, that's probably not a good idea. But what I can tell you is this. I'm going to trip on the microphone. That's my #1 goal, not to trip. In my charter school, I worked with a lot of at-risk middle school kids, and several of them had actually taken weapons to school in the past, and they'd been expelled. And I said, look, I know what I'm doing. I know how to do it. And yes, we will take your student. I didn't tell the other students that, but I knew it. And so this was 2005. And of course, I am from South Florida, where I worked at the school in Parkland. But prior to that, in my charter school, I had a very strict rule that you would come in, you would wear a polo, you would have khaki pants, and you would wear a belt. The shirt would be tucked in. Well, you know, middle school kids didn't like that. They wanted to fight me on that. Just even tuck the shirt out, right? That was the whole game. And so I would literally have to send kids home. And so I would go out to the car every morning and I would open it up and I go, oh my gosh, I am so happy to see you guys. I noticed he doesn't have a belt on today. Why don't you guys run home and get it, and I'll see you in a little bit. And people looked at me like I was nuts. But the reality was that dress code was important. Because I showed a video, and I have done this in the past with different kids because they fought me on it. And so there's a video of a young little, looks just about like this guy right here, about that height, in a baggy shirt and some jeans. And in the video, the young man, standing here cute as can be, starts pulling out the weapons.
In the baggy pants.
17 weapons in his pants. And they look at me and they go, oh, that's why you wanted us to tuck in our shirts. And it's scary and it's crazy. In the world we live in today that some of you mentioned, there's only so much we can do. But as an administrator and as a school, if I have to call you and say, hey, your kid's out of dress code, there's a reason. I'm not trying to be uptight. I'm not trying to be mean. I don't want to send your kid home. But I also want to make sure everybody's safe. And so that's something important for you to know right out of the gate. Is there a dress code? And if there is, how do I make sure my kids follow that? So the little kids, do they need a change of clothes? How much does the lunch cost? Do they have to memorize the count number? Things like that are pretty important and pretty cool, especially for the little ones like you're 6 years old and things like that. So in a back to school kind of atmosphere. Medical questions, those are real important things. And so homeschool, I know, I'm sorry, I'm going to go through this as fast as I can, but you know, having that emergency contact. I had lots of parents who the phone number doesn't work, right? And so now I have a kid having a seizure and I don't have a good working phone number for the parent. So fortunately, I would find something and help them, but having that information up to date is absolutely critical. So if you do change your phone or you do change that, make sure that the school knows how to get a hold of you. Asthma, all those type of allergies, they do need to know. And then this part came up for some of our students that are attention deficit. There are certain tools and certain structures that you can advocate for, and there are plans that can be put in place called a 504 that will allow your student to get the things they need. There's a process to it and a medical doctor is involved, but finding those and making sure that the teachers know what those kinds of things are will be real important for them to help you. Transportation and safety. I'm a nutcase when it comes to safety. My son still makes the helicopter sound. Hi, Mom, right? I can't stop. It's just part of who I am. So knowing that, knowing what are the rules, what are the regulations, how does that look? And for me, if my kid is riding a bike to school, I would want to just make sure and go over with them again. Look, here's your route. Here's how it goes. If you're approached, how are you going to handle that? So again, you might think that's crazy. But one of my students over the summer said, no, I ride my bike up the 2 miles, and the other boy said, you know, oh yeah, and I just walk. Well, sometimes we have to do that, right? Sometimes we don't have an option, but making sure they're safe and just going over that with them is pretty important. All right, here's the parent conference part. So were there any segments in that first part, open house, that you put down in your notes? Not really.
Medical.
Hey, you are taking copious notes. I'm proud of you. Well, I'm celebrating success. Did you find anything that you hadn't thought of?
Just a reminder for the medical forms.
You bet. Remind medical forms? Okay. So in those parent conferences, this was new to me, and I have been in the education field a long, long time. So when you get to that parent conference, aren't they what, like October here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're going to call you and you're going to get a chance to go in. First of all, ask the most important questions first. I never thought of that. And as a parent, whatever's on your list, you push that agenda because you probably will run out of time. The other part is ask for an action plan. Okay, you told me they're not doing well in math and they're having trouble in this, so what do we need to do? And so you can take that ownership and say, okay, well, what's the action plan look like? And again, letting the teacher know, these are the things my child is good at and this is how they do well. Because I didn't want to cover them all, I made that yellow sheet up for you of the different questions that you could ask during a parent conference. And so for me, if I go somewhere where I'm feeling a little intimidated, if I just have a tool and some things that I would prioritize, it makes me feel a lot more confident and a little bit stronger. So you have a whole list of different questions that you might ask for the parent conference. I said it twice. It was apparently important. And then in the interventions and supports, how many of your kids have kind of got off track or had some issues maybe where they got on academic watch? Just a couple. And it's easy to happen, just like I said. The young man got the F in biology. He's only been in school 2 weeks. He's a great kid. He's a hard worker. But it can happen, not because of anything you did wrong, but just because of the way the system works sometimes. So any of you have preschoolers? Okay, you guys. Oh. So if you think that there's a problem, maybe they're not hearing well, they're not speaking well, for the young kids, trust your instincts. Go to Child Find, get the resources, get the help that you can. Doctors, teachers are good supporters for you at every age. You can request an evaluation, or you can go outside and get an evaluation if you feel like there are some learning issues or some attention issues. And yes, there's also a law for IEP. It's called the IDEA law, and that's federal accountability. And so when kids have a federal document, that's when you can bring an advocate to say, okay, here's the law, here are the things you should be doing, what part of that are you not doing now? So that's a good thing, and it's important if your kids might need some extra supports. All right, well, let's close up. How many of you learned something about time management strategies today? Yay! Oh, I was starting to get nervous. You guys were looking really tired. I thought, oh my goodness. All right, good. So lots of people got some resources there. You committed to 5 things? Indeed, personal pledge. We got some great tools and resources for maybe some ideas we hadn't thought of for positive school relationships. And now tell me about your goal. You set a goal when we started the session today. I'd love to hear from somebody who actually had their goal met and somebody who didn't have their goal met. Delia.
And it may have been met, but as a parent, I need more helpful, positive reinforcement.
Okay, great, thank you. Anybody have their goal met? I'm going to go home and cry now. I didn't help anybody in this. No, I'm just kidding. So again, some of us are not comfortable, and I don't take it personal. So I hope that your goals were met, and if they were not, you do have an exit slip that maybe you can give me some feedback about how I could be more helpful to you in the future. So you have my information, and this is what I'd love to hear from you. What are 3 things you learned? What are 2 things, and I think Delia's would fit on that, 2 things you want to learn more about, and 1 question you still have. Thank you all so much for giving me a chance to hang out with you.